by. It's been too long, dog. It's been too Rudy Poo long. How has my man been?
Oh, I've been great, dude. I've been great. I missed you guys.
Well, we missed you too. Zach, look, I'm going to give you the floor. It's like the did you ever watch The Office, Zach?
Yeah, about 10 times.
Okay. So you remember the episode when Dwight lights the fire in the office for fire safety? And then Michael Scott runs out and says, "Okay, nobody panic. Everybody stay calm. I want to be that right now." It's really difficult. LSU baseball is 1-8, fourth in the SEC West. Take us through that. What are some things that you're seeing that you think that? Just tell me, what are you seeing?
Well, so I really wish they would have done better against Tennessee. I wasn't on last week, so we didn't get to talk about that series much. I thought they underperformed against Tennessee. I thought Vanderbilt just looked really good this weekend. I still don't think they're a bad team by any stretch. I know I see a lot of people jumping off the bandwagon right now. I'm not doing that. I really think they're a talented team. Losing Hill, obviously chops them off at the knees for how far I think they can really go. But as far as the rest of the season goes, I still think they can swing it with any Saturday matchup and any Sunday matchup that they have. I use those two games in particular because that's going to be what's about to change around, right? I mean, Marceau's not going anywhere for the time being. So I still think they can swing it with anybody. They put up good at bats against Leiter, who I truly thought was throwing his A game. We didn't have some Leiter up there on the mound who was throwing his C game and competing, and we were making mistakes hurt. No, this dude was crisp. He was clean, and we still put up 2 runs on him, which I don't know if any team can say. I don't think this.
No, Zach, they can't. They can't do it in over 95 innings, 2 runs.
Yeah, I mean that kid's remarkable, right? Now, and we were talking about this, during it and everything, but yeah, he's remarkable. Yes, we played well against a great player. We also allowed 11 runs. So even if we did blow that game open offensively, we probably lose the game, best case scenario, 11-10. So I think this team is really good. I still think their roster top to bottom is very competitive. I just don't think we've seen them play a complete game yet. I don't think we've seen them dominate offensively, defensively, and on the mound. We haven't seen all 3 pieces of this game click at the same time yet. We have these games where they swing it like crazy and the pitching staff allows way too much. We've had games where the pitching staff comes out crisp and clean, and then our offense can't swing it. I still think this team has a chance to make a run right now, specifically at this point in the schedule. You're going to Kentucky. Coach Minge is over there. He's going to do his antics and all this and that. I still think LSU can go over there and take this series against a pretty good Kentucky team.
What do you mean, very rudely, tell us, what do you mean by antics? Give the people kind of a preview.
Well, I like Coach Minge a lot. Mississippi State recruited me out of JUCO whenever he was there. I really liked him. I really liked Butch Thompson, and I didn't have a problem with Coach Cohen until I went to LSU and then realized that that whole thing is just a clown show for a little while. So Butch Thompson and Minge, I mean, they're great coaches. They were underlings under Cohen, and Minge is kind of more of the character style. So right. He's gonna have his interviews where he makes his faces and his comments and everything like that. I like him. I think he's good for the sport, but he's more of an antics kind of guy than you have some coaches who are a little more like down and dirty, and then some who are a little more like playing it up. He's just one of those guys who plays it up. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just his style.
The best comment, I'll have to find it. He did a press conference. They asked him a question about somebody hitting. He goes, "Who gives a shit?" That was funny. I'll give you that. Zach, I got to ask you this as a pitcher. And I see Stephen Miller ask this question. I'll just throw this question out there about #AskZach. We talked about this. I don't know what Paul's line of thinking is running 4 guys out there hitting 200 or below. If you're out there pitching, what's your thought process, man? Like, hey, there's 4 guys in the lineup hitting below 200. I got to be crisp, and that puts a lot of pressure on Landon Marceau. Yeah. People are going to take the way that I say this wrong. That puts a lot of pressure on a Jaden Hill and could get somebody hurt. You mentioned on this show that switching pitchers could get somebody hurt, and God forbid, one of them did. Okay, I'm not saying that Paul did something wrong there. That's not what I'm saying. But as a pitcher, tell me, what would be your mindset of 4 guys in that lineup just not hitting below 200?
That's an interesting question because the fan side and the pitcher side, I think, are different because as a pitcher, I mean, every game you're going to allow 0 runs anyway. So I don't think it matters. You know, every time you're jogging out to the mound, you're like, okay, let me get these outs, and that's going to be the end of it. So from the pitcher side, I don't even know if you even look at that. But yeah, from a fan perspective, it does kind of raise an eyebrow to an extent because you're wondering, if we do have a pitching staff who's going to allow a few more runs, especially now without Jaden Hill, then maybe you do need more swinging. Maybe you do need more bruisers up there. I don't think the guys who can swing it really well, I don't think they're particularly bad on defense. So maybe you just roll with that and see, if we're going to take a hit to our pitching staff, we might as well swing with them.
Well,
and this lineup is good enough to do that.
And look, to Craig's point here, he says despite a 1-8 SEC record, LSU has an RPI of 35, Zach. 35. And that just means that they played a lot of good teams. Look, Oral Roberts had a sweep 2 weeks ago that no one's talking about, and they got beat by LSU got beat by them. You talked about Jaden Hill. First off, what a horrible injury. Yeah. Zach, I should have asked you this. I know that we were going to talk about it, but have you ever been around a guy that's been so talented that just had the worst luck whatsoever like Jaden Hill?
Yeah, and it's super unfortunate because, a guy like Jaden Hill, he's not a bad guy by any stretch. He's a great dude, a hardworking dude. He gets after it every day. That's just a guy who deserves to be out there. He deserves to be playing. He deserves to reap the benefits of his God-given ability plus his work ethic. And so it sucks. It always sucks when you see stuff like that because those guys, they don't deserve it, but injuries are part of the game of baseball and part of every sport. And it's just unfortunate, man. It's a really unfortunate way to be. That's why, not to make a joke about it, but that's why every time I play video games, I like to turn injuries off,
Bro,
we're going ones versus ones, and that's it.
Dude, people get mad at me when I do that too, but look, it's a video game. Like, I'm not trying to be realistic, right? Like,
and every fan wants that too. At the end of the day, like every fan wants to be like, no, I would rather beat a team on their A game and then say that we beat them, than sneak through a team who's on their third string guy. And then you always kind of have it in the back of your head, like, would we have beaten them or not? Like, would the Saints have beat Denver with a quarterback? We don't really know, like it's just one of those kind of things. I don't know.
Zach, I've been known to say this exact comment. What ifs don't mean two shits to me because what ifs aren't reality, right? Like it's just you're living in fantasy land. It's like we're playing Miles Morales Spider-Man over here. It's just not real reality, right? I'm with you there. Who do you think starts Sunday? Look, Blake Money came in against Vandy and really and look, and kind of yelled at Tim Corbin like, "Don't want to recruit me, bitch? Okay, I'll show you." And he's from Nashville. I would throw him out there Sunday, Zach. What do you think?
Loved it. I like having Money as like a go-to bullpen arm, just because he really has shown a lot of consistency. He showed some really good stuff on the mound. Man, I thought his game. He came in game 2, right? So it was Hill got hurt. They went to the other guy to the pen. I can't remember his name.
Alex Brady.
The door kind of got kicked open, and then. And then Money jumped out there and just completely doused the fire. I thought he was phenomenal, but I also like having him in the bullpen role for that exact situation. because he is a guy who can come in, eat up innings in like really crunch time situations. So I kind of like leaving him there. I did see Coach Maneri said something about I think it was Edwards texted him and was like, I want it. Give it to me. You know what? You let him roll with it. That's how I feel. It's like, okay, I'll put that Bulldog on the mound and we see where it goes from here. You may have your bullpen arms. You may tell him before the game, while Edwards is warming up and he's not within earshot, you may tell him before the game, like, hey, everyone on your toes. Yeah, you may be ready at any moment. But I mean, if a kid wants that Bulldog mentality, let's see if he's real or not. I'm totally fine with giving him the chance. I'm assuming Labus goes up to Saturday, or game 2, I guess. I don't know what you'd want to call it, but I guess he goes up to Saturday. Actually, the way this week is set up, you don't really lose a day, because game 3 was Saturday before Easter anyway. So he stays on his schedule, and then, yeah, man, you just piece it together. We might be Johnny Holstaffing it again, like for old time's sake.
Zach, take me through this, because I'm assuming you've seen a pitcher get hurt and the time that you play baseball. You mentioned Alex Brady coming in, and then Blake Money comes in and shuts the door. Look, that's the kind of stuff that I think Paul's getting a little bit of pressure from. Do you think it's a little fair or at all that fans are kind of criticizing Paul in reference to this? They struggled in last season before COVID. They're struggling again now. What says you?
Yeah, that's tough because, so naturally you're not expecting to go to your bullpen in the second inning of game 2. So that part's really difficult. You throw Brady out there. I don't know. I can't say that I would have gone with Brady. But at the same time, you're not trying to use your late inning guys in the second inning because I don't know. It's a tough situation. You never prepared for an injury to your starter that early. From being in Brady's shoes, I think that's the worst position to be in baseball.
Absolutely.
Where they tell you have all the time you need, but you're like, I'm not going to take a 25-minute warm up. Like, there's no way I'm not going to just blow all these minutes out here. So you're rushing to try and speed getting ready. And it's an awkward situation. I don't envy that spot at all. That's the worst to me. And then, I mean, credit Money for coming in and, I mean, in a really brutal situation, you're going up against a team who probably has the best pitcher in baseball at that time. He's on his A game, and the door just got kicked in. And he just came out and just shoved it right down Vandy's throats. He did well. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you go to Money first next time? Maybe. But maybe that's what you learned from this situation too.
Look, we're Monday morning quarterbacking a lot of things, and I get that. And LSU being 1-8 is literally not happened since the 1960s, so it's got fans a little bit up in arms, and I get that. Let's take a very quick side note here, and let's talk about Jack Leiter. From a durability standpoint, I don't know if I wouldn't go rocker. It feels like to me that Leiter puts so much torque on his body that I would be a little afraid if I'm drafting, if I don't take rocker. I do think rocker is going to wind up finding his way in the back end of a bullpen, like a Jansen and with the Dodgers. That's what I think. But Leiter is by far the best pitcher that the college baseball's seen in a long time. That's not really up for debate, is it?
Cool. No, I mean, what was his stretch right before? I think Cruz got the hit off of him, but right before that, he was at like 21 straight innings without a hit.
26.
26. Okay. See, even worse. Yeah, that guy's incredible. So I was talking to some family members about this at Easter, but he pitches in a way that you can tell he's probably extremely athletic. He probably can run. He probably can run pretty well. He probably can jump through the roof. He really sits into his legs really hard, and he doesn't lose velocity, so he doesn't lose effectiveness. But I really think it comes from the lower half. So if he's protecting the smaller joints in that throwing motion, like the whole kinetic chain thing from the ground up, he might be just as durable, just with a much smaller frame. One thing that I find really, really incredible was like I watched the last 2 innings of him throwing the no-hitter, and the last pitch of the game was like pitch number 120 something. It was 96 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That
Right.
is insane. Like, that's the same as his first and second inning velo. It's ridiculous. That guy, I mean, I think he's durable. I think he's just got a much smaller frame. And that's just playing devil's advocate to what you said. I don't think you can really go wrong with either of those guys.
Right.
Because Rocker obviously has his pros also. It's incredible they have both those guys going 1 and 2. And I wish so if LSU had come out and gotten swept this weekend, but in game 1 and 2 being close games that you just lose to a team with really good pitchers, probably the first 2 picks in the draft, you just roll with that. I don't think fans would be that up in arms about this weekend. I think they'd say, well, shit, I mean, we fought really well against a very good opponent. And we lost 3 close ones. I don't think the 1-8 record looks as bad that way. The problem was we allowed like 25 runs in the first 2 games.
Right.
So it looks way worse. So yeah, I mean, I think from this point on, you have to just move on with April and you got to make a run. I think you can make a run here. I think this LSU team has the talent to go for 7 or 8 straight wins, but they have to piece it together. And they have to play a complete games. We'll see.
Zach, we made fun of the kid from Tennessee that started Friday night. You remember you tweeted in the most epic tweet of all time. I forget the kid's name, but you were like, that kid was supposed
Chad
to be
Dallas or something. I was like,
That's right.
It
was
name?
Chad Dallas. And you said,
like, man, if anybody's named Chad Dallas, it is
dude. And what was the comment you said? The tweet, it was like, that's the hardest 91 miles an hour I've ever seen thrown in my life, or 90 miles an hour. That dude, but I know we made fun of Chad Dallas, but you know what? One thing that Chad Dallas had that no one could take away from him was confidence. And it seems to me that a lot of this, like, I like the Edwards kid running out there and says, give me the ball on Sunday. It's kind of like Will Ferrell in the movie, the other guys, like, Gator needs his gat, you punk ass B. That's how my team needs that, right? Like, doesn't this team seem like they're kind of lacking some confidence?
I'm not sure if they're lacking confidence, but they're lacking they're definitely not showing that like bulldog fighter mentality. They're not showing, they haven't shown yet that they have a bunch of guys who want to step on the other team's throat. Like, they haven't shown that yet. And you cannot win games in the SEC unless you feel that way. Now, you don't have to show it in order to feel that way. So I don't want to say the guys don't have it. I'm just saying, like, I don't see a guy who's out there like, if you guys line up, I will fight every single one of you in a row. Like, you have to have a team where everyone feels that way. Or like I said, you cannot win in the SEC, because I guarantee those guys do feel that way, and they're very good baseball players.
You know who does have that? And then to rudely interrupt, who does have that is Blake Money. He comes out screaming off the mound, and then Doty hits a bomb off a guy that hasn't allowed a run in over 45 innings, Zach. 45 innings this kid hasn't allowed a run, and then Doty goes out there and hits a bomb. I think you're right. I think when he runs off the mound, and look, they're just doing the baseball antics, beating his chest, I'm with you. I just don't.
I'm a huge fan of that. I was always a high energy guy. I think it's good. I think it's really good especially from a reliever standpoint. I just think that, it's just the way the game should be played. But also, I can also say that the downside of that, the other side of the coin, is that sometimes I'll get myself in trouble by letting the motor run a little too much. And then, like, you'd have guys like Aaron Nola with just like perfect flat line the whole game. They were killers between the ears, but they just didn't show it. I mean, there's pros and cons to both, but in particular love whenever relievers are just full fire. We used to have a strength coach that say he wanted our bullpen to be so fired up they felt like they could put out the fires of hell with a water gun. And that was just how I felt. That was just, it's just the way to play. I think it's the funnest way to play.
By the way, I talked to some people about Nola. Very quick story that Aaron Nola has the longest long toss in human history. Like, could be in the Guinness Book of World Records type shit.
You can see when guys can really throw, it comes through in their long toss, and it's about how they spin it. It buys that, that extra little bit of hop on the back end and stuff like that. What Nola would do that always blew my mind was he wouldn't move his feet, and he would still throw the ball across the field. So
oh my God.
he would start with like back leg planted and like a balance point position almost, and he would dip into his back leg and still throw it all the way across the outfield. That was always impressive to me. Another impressive long toss I saw one time in 14, we went to Vandy, and it was the Friday night game. Carson Fulmer came in relief, and he shoved it on us for 4 innings or so. We won the game 2-1 because it was 2-1 when he came in the game. And so that was just kind of how it finished. But he threw like 4 or 5 great innings against us. And then the next day when we showed up for batting practice, he was throwing foul pole to foul pole. Like 12 hours later, because we were doing a doubleheader the next day. And that dude was just letting it rip. I was like, well, that guy's a different beast.
I don't understand. You know, and I would be the guy that's standing next to Nola or Fulmer or something like that, like throwing it from second to third, kind of like with the side eye from Twitter, like, hey, what's up, buddy? You know, like,
you're pointing to your partner like this. You seeing this guy?
Yeah.
Let him know. Oh, my God.
Like, we had a guy, Aaron Maples, who went pitched at Southeastern, and he would throw the ball from me. Like, I know that you're not literally next to me, but from me to you, he would want to throw it 93 miles an hour. And I'm like, dude, I'm not throwing with you anymore. Like, this is intense. Okay, we're in high school. I'm warming up. I play first base. I get 3 throws an inning at max, and it's back to a pitcher. It's just not going to happen, bro. We have a question quickly, Zach, before we get you out of here. Stephen Miller says, #Ask Zach. I know you weren't a hitter, but you hit bombs like Todd Peterson in high school. I know you did. But as quick as Leiter works, why didn't we see more hitters like calling time, trying to break a rhythm, laying bunts to try to take him out of that rhythm? Is that a head coach thing? Is that a Paul Mainieri, Eddie Smith thing? Like, I think that's a good point because Leiter was just really in motion and rhythm, and it didn't seem like anyone tried to break it.
He was, and so to that point also, his pitch count was high because of strikeouts, but he was never behind in counts. Like, I feel like every time I looked up, it was 0-2 or 1-2. Like, that dude was straight attacking over and over. And I was even joking with my buddies that I was watching with. I was like, they should just close their eyes and swing because he's still in the strike zone.
Well, don't feel bad. That's what Alex Milazzo does every time he comes up to the plate anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
But I was like, man, I mean, he's in the zone. Like, he's in the strike zone. He's throwing hard fastballs. They have a lot of hop, but I don't know. I mean, I guess throwing him off his rhythm would be a good strategy. His pitch count was running up so much that I think they kind of knew it was going to be a short outing. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like with a guy like that, you kind of go up there with the mentality of I'm trying to heat seek. I'm trying to attack right away because he's coming at you with fastballs. He's just really good pitcher.
Well, Zach, so even in the first inning, they got the bases loaded with 1 out. Yeah. If you know that you're not going to get a hit, bunt that son of a bitch. I mean, I'm not trying to Monday morning quarterback, but you're not going to get many runs off that human being. Take a run from him. You know, like at least try to. But then you go out and back-to-back. He struck out the side, Zach, in 30 pitches. I mean, you got to do something to generate a run because you and I both know now – here's something that it's even crazier. When he got punched in the mouth and Doty hit the bomb, he wasn't the same. You could tell he just wasn't the same. What does a run in the first inning do to a kid? Because we saw what it did to him when Doty hit a bomb. Those are the small things to me, Zach, that over time start adding up, right? Like I would have called a bunt right then and there.
And not to mention, I do think it may have touched him a little bit because he hasn't been hit like that before. He hasn't had that absolute loud bat off of him. It hasn't happened prior to that moment. Now also consider the rest of the situation in general. You're in Baton Rouge. They still have Jordan Hill in this moment. The game is still tied unless he gets banged on in the first. You know, this is a different situation than when he got hit late in the game with a big lead after the starter got hurt for the other team, right? It's a totally different scenario. So you're right. I mean, maybe if you show up, punch him in the mouth right away, you might let him know like this isn't the place for that. But,
well, even too, Zach, he hasn't been around fans in a year and a half. He literally has not been in a stadium that's had fans in a year and a half. What does a roaring LSU crowd do when they get on their feet and start drinking beers and smoking cigarettes behind the dugout where no one even we're going to smoke these cigarettes behind with our mask on. Who gives a shit? I mean, we just put up a run against the lighter. Who gives a damn? I mean, that's the kind of small stuff that gets me. Zach, one last question. We'll get you out of here. LSU's got to go 15-6 to get above 500 in the SEC. You said that you think that this team has the skill players and the guys to get back on track. What do you want to see from them this weekend? What do you think Paul should tinker with the lineup or anything? What on game one, night one, what do you want to see?
Okay, so the theme of everything I've said today, I want to see a complete team outing, especially night one. You got Marceau, so the pitching staff isn't hindered by any means. You got Marceau going out there. Jaden Hill's injury doesn't count Friday night. So I want to see a complete team outing. That's really what I want to see. This Kentucky team is a good team. They put it on Louisville last night. They had a really good showing last night.
A beatdown.
But they also got a beat down this weekend too. So
right.
So they're in a very similar situation to us, except I think Louisville might be a little bit better than McNeese. But aside from that, I do think they're in a similar position to us. I think we're able to come out and put it on them. I think you need a team approach Friday night. And then if you get that team approach Friday night, then all the stuff that Maneri tells the team for the last 3 months clicks. It's all the stuff of like, guys, we always do well when it warms up. We always do well when we move the chess pieces at the beginning, and then it always clicks at the end. That's the whole running theme of everything. Like, we're going to be great when we need to be great. That's how it always is. That's how it was both years I was there. That's how they talked about it the years before I was there and the years since. But you still have to have people show up and do it. So you still need that full team approach. I think that's the main thing that I want to see. Can you show up? Can you put together a very competitive game one on the road against a good team that you should be beating? I think that's what hurt them in the Tennessee series. I think Tennessee's a little better than we thought going in, but also I still think they were good enough for us to play with. Couple tough breaks in that weekend, but really you got punched in the mouth in game one is really what happened. And so I want to see this team show up like, well, we're not doing that again this weekend. Mississippi State's a very good baseball team. Vandy's a very good baseball team. You still got Arkansas. You still got Ole Miss. You still have very good baseball teams on the schedule coming up. These are the weekends you really have to come out and show what you're made of. You have to get the ball rolling now for momentum's sake, for confidence sake, for all of it. It has to start now. And last night could have been the start of it, but I want to see that. And then finally, maybe like point A, B, C or whatever, I want to see, if our pitching staff is going to take hits, like we mentioned earlier, let's roll with an offensive lineup. Let's just see what happens. Let's swing the shit out of it. Let's see if we bang with people. Come and get us. I don't know.
Bang.
Bang. Yeah.
Maybe next week we'll get into, is pitching, different, is hitting different. But, I wanted to ask you the question, so many different questions of, do you have to score a lot of runs to win? But then you see Coleman Rocker and then Jack Leiter, and you're like, well, shit, I can't say that. I mean, you just got dominated last weekend, so we'll see. But, Zach, we greatly appreciate you joining the show, man. We'll talk to you again soon. Hopefully we're not angry texting during the weekend about some LSU baseball.
We won't be. I'm speaking it into existence now. That ball's going to get rolling. It's April. It always happens.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.